on defense. And after the game, Izzo explained himself. Let's hear it.
You think there was one thing that would make me that angry? You don't know me very well. There was a bunch of things, and hey, he's playing a lot of minutes too. He's tired too. But when you're a freshman now at this time of year, you don't make mental mistakes on things that when we're telling a guy which way he goes or not running back, or there were some things Aaron didn't do a very good job of. And yet, you know what? Like happened, I did get after him, and he did respond, and he did make a couple big buckets, and he did make some big free throws. But that's not good enough. This is one and done time, The my bads are out the window. If they're my bads because that team played better or that guy played better, if it's my bad because I decided to jog back instead of sprint back, then it is your bad, and you're going to hear about it. I get a kick out of you guys. Get after somebody because you're trying to hold them accountable. I don't know what kind of business you're in, but I'll tell you what, if I was the head of a newspaper and you didn't do your job, you'd be held accountable. That's the way it is.
All right, Rob Parker is joining us this morning, and it's fitting because you have experience covering Izzo. You did it for many years. So when you saw this happening, when you just heard his defense of his actions, was he out of line?
Absolutely 100%. He's out of line. That is not coaching, Skip Bayless. That's bullying, Shannon Sharpe. That's making a national embarrassment of a young kid who, for whatever reason, if you want to pull him out of the game because he's not playing right, I get that. You bring him to the sideline, you sit him down, you explain what he's not doing and why he won't see the court. What Tom Izzo did crossed the line, not just yelling at the kid on the court, but go look at the videotape. A clenched fist. He makes it almost physical, swiping at the kid. He lunges at the kid again a second time. That's all not acceptable. And I get it. Today, all Twitter and all the former players, oh, these kids are soft and blah, 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 and this is coaching. No, it's not. Show me the videotape of Coach K and Dean Smith and John Wooden. Show me the videotape of this. And I guarantee you, Tom Izzo would not want this included on his videotape as being a Hall of Fame coach if you included it on his highlights. He would, because it's not coaching.
Right.
This is an overreaction where he was mad and he took it out on the kid. And I get it. Aaron Henry is going to support Tom Izzo. You know why? All of these guys do it. Tom Izzo came into his living room. Tom Izzo delivered a scholarship for him to play. He's always going to be beholden to Tom Izzo, even when Tom Izzo's wrong. All the players do it. Can I go to Bobby Knight? Everybody was an enabler to Bobby Knight. They told Bobby Knight all along, oh no, that's coach. He came to practice, Shannon, with a whip and popped the whip at black kids. An old white guy popping a whip at practice. And people were like, oh, what's the big deal? It's coach, right? That's Coach Knight. Until the end, until when? When did they turn on Bobby Knight? When he got physical. He started choking people out. And if you want to say that this is just soft kids and look, all the other former Tom Izzo players have come to his defense and you guys don't know, you never played basketball, you know, and all the other stuff. I get it. I understand coaching. This is not coaching. And go back to Latrell Sprewell and PJ Carlissimo. I was in New York at Newsday covering, and you know, PJ coached at Seton Hall. And I had players call after that whole incident. And you know what they said to me? They said, I'm shocked it took this long for somebody to do that to him. Because if you were in the practices and you saw how PJ treated people behind the scenes, you wouldn't be surprised. And if this is Izzo in public, on national stage with all these cameras, can you imagine what practice is like? So go ahead. Everybody can pile on and say, the media is soft, we're overreacting, all the other former players are all for Izzo, and you guys don't know what's going on. I see bullying when I know bullying when I see it. And that's what that was. That was not coaching.
Do you think that Coach Izzo gets some pass from some in the media because they like him?
Absolutely. And you know what, Skip? I'm glad you said that. Izzo's always been a favorite for a lot of guys. Access, right? Until the tables were turned, and go back and look at when he was pressed about whether or not he knew about alleged rapes and whatnot. He turned into a different guy. He repelled the media. He was angry. We saw a different Tom Izzo.
Go ahead.
I had a hard time watching this yesterday, and I know Izzo a little bit off camera. You know him a lot off camera. He can be fun to be around. He can be charming, but that was a dark side that came out. That's a side that Michigan State has allowed to manifest itself and grow in hugely public forums. And that school has had enough scandal to start with. We know about all that's really serious. But this is such a bad look for the university and for a coach who has some credentials. You and I have gone back and forth. He got to 7 Final Fours, got to 2 championship games. He won one with Mateen Cleaves and Mo Pete.
And that was 2000.
2000.
20 years ago.
The last 3 years, they have flamed out early. So he was under a lot of pressure yesterday against Bradley, right? Where I think the pressure is on him even more than on his kids. And he's saying, don't do this to me, to a freshman. But are they going to back him up? And I feel like, just in fairness, I need to read this because our Chris Carter said this on First Things First, and he said he had talked to Coach Izzo last night. He's got an off-camera relationship, obviously, with Coach Izzo that goes way back. And Aaron Henry retweeted what Chris said on First Things First and put a little bullseye emoji like you hit it right on the head. And what Chris Carter said was, Coach Izzo made a promise to that kid and his parents. When he sat in their living room, he told them, I'm going to be on your son and grow him from a boy into a young man. That's what Aaron Henry got last night. This coaching will always be effective, said Chris Carter on First Things First, and the kid retweeted it with a bullseye, so he validated, he reinforced. To your point, I don't know what, I guess he could rebel, but most of the kids just say, that's what I signed up for.
He can't rebel because, you know what? Where would he go from here? You know what I mean? You're painted into a corner.
Yeah.
Tom Izzo's a Hall of Fame coach who's won a championship, and here's a freshman kid who's going to stand up and say what? His parents are in a tough spot. What are they going to say? All right? But they can't say anything. He has a scholarship. You want your kid not to play. Maybe he has dreams to go to the next level. So you just have to accept it.
I agree. I agree with what both of you said. If I'm not mistaken, it wasn't the accident, it wasn't the choking of Neil Reed that cost Bobby Knight his job. It was when a student walked up to him on campus and said Knight. And he grabbed the student.
Yes.
That cost him his job. So you can't get physical with it. But I thought college athletes
that cost him his Indiana job.
Right,
yeah,
that is.
But I thought athletes were student athletes. So you can't grab a student, but you can grab an athlete. Now come on now. Oh, you see here, I get it.
He grabbed the student because he called him Knight. Like,
right.
with
Not
disrespect.
Yeah, not Coach Knight or Mr. Knight.
Yeah.
And that was the
I think he
undoing.
said, hey, Knight.
Yeah,
Like,
that was his undoing.
Yeah.
Not the choking of Neil Reed.
That's true.
But Skip, look, I get it. The guy made a mental mistake, but these things happen. The greatest basketball player in Michigan State history had one of the ultimate mental mistakes in an NBA Finals game. Magic Johnson dribbled the clock out without getting a shot up. It happens. And that's what happens. The guy has a mental lapse, and sometimes you freeze.
He jogged back on defense, like he wasn't given 100% effort.
Let me tell you something, Coach Izzo. There's no such thing as a guy gives you 100% on every single play. I don't care if it's professional, high school, junior, no. You don't go 100 miles an hour every single play. So stop this notion, Mr. Coach Izzo, because you got people thinking like, oh, this kid was dogging it. Well, if he dogged it, why'd you recruit him? If you dogged it, why you got him in the game?
Take him out the game.
Take him out the game. All you had to do. Because my thing is, Rob, I said, even if I want to give you that first one where you walked up to him in a confrontational manner, even if I give you that one, I thought once you got to the side and you're in the huddle, it was gone away. You're coaching, and now the kids got to restrain the coach.
Cassius Winston, that was, to me, that's the one.
The point guard.
The point guard for Michigan State. When he feels compelled, normally you notice, Shannon, if a coach is chewing out a player and he deserves it, players accept it. You sit there and you just take your medicine.
Normally it's the players holding the players back.
Exactly.
So now the players need to be the adult in the room because the adult in the room is acting like a child.
And no assistant coach moved. They didn't do anything.
Yeah,
Cassius Winston?
The thing is that I get it because for the longest time, this was acceptable behavior in the coaching circle, But Skip, times have evolved, and the way you talk to players and the way you coach players is different in 2019 than it was in 1965, 1980, even in the 1990s. You can't do these things, some of the things that these coaches do. So come on, Coach Izzo, my thing is, if you got to get to this point, you're doing a terrible job of conveying your message because they're not getting it. They're not receiving it.
And you know what, Skip? You made a good point, and I believe this. Izzo knows deep down that without that second championship, he doesn't get validated. He's in the Hall of Fame, but he won one 20 years ago when Mateen and Mo Pete couldn't leave after their junior year, so they stayed his senior year, and they were bigger and stronger, and they won that championship. He said it himself. He needs to win another one, and I think you're right. He saw himself in a tight game and said, oh my God, is this going to be another flame out early on in the tournament?
Lost it.
Right? And lost it.
But see, Coach Knight was able to stay so long because he had 3 titles.
He did.
So they were willing to accept because the money, the revenue that he's generating and the cachet, even though he only has one, he has one. It's hard for me to believe. What was that guy at Rutgers? He had none. They got him up out of there. As soon as he put his hand on the player, what they do to him, Skip? They ain't wait.
They had the videotape.
They didn't wait at all. They had the videotape of Bobby Knight to choke rest his soul Neil Reed, and he stayed on because he had those 3 titles.
No doubt.
This guy in practice with no titles, get up out of here. And this is what Coach Izzo, when you get titles, whether you're a player or a coach, it gives you latitude to do a lot of things you wouldn't be able to do if you didn't have it.
But ultimate power is dangerous, and when you allow a guy to be able to do whatever and not like step in and say, you've crossed the line, and nothing will happen. Michigan State, they're all on the defensive. They're all piling up. They probably got tweets out, hey, send something out for Coach Izzo. Do you know what I mean? Like, they feel compelled to do it because they know he's in hot water.
Ask the chancellor. If that was your kid, how would you feel if that was your kid? Ask the dean, ask the chancellor, ask the president. If that was your kid that he did that to, how would you feel? You'd be like, oh, yeah, he just coaching him up.
It's not a good look. And regardless, it's going to be a distraction for this team moving forward. So that's on him.
They're gonna get asked about it again.
This isn't just the beginning. And these discussions are important to have, I think, about this. But it's not something that we are going to stop talking about.
You don't see that very
anytime
often.
soon. No, you really don't. Rob, good to have you with us today. Skip, this is an important question for you, actually. Why are the Eagles